All right, people, you're welcome once again to another episode of our podcast show. I remain your host, Ndo Kingsley, on the show with Kings, on the mic with Kings. Now, we're still on a continuation of dissecting rivers issues, political issues. We're looking today at turn our eyes to Borno State, and we're looking at the escalating insecurity and federal inaction in that state. Now, not so long ago, that should be 2 days ago, the Sun's newspaper picked it up that Professor Zulum of Borno State said that the state is gradually losing grounds to Boko Haram and ISWAP members. Now, this is a quotation from him. Gradually losing ground. In other words, he was trying to find that Borno State is being overrun by Boko Haram. Now, for a government to come out openly to say this, it means he has taken more than enough. It means the situation is that bad. Very, very bad for him to say that. But yet to see the federal government doing nothing about it and treating it with the kid's glove. Following his confession or that statement of his, has there been a federal action? Has there been military takeover of the state? Has there been, a strong federal government presence in that state to forestall the encroachment and overrun of the place of the state by Boko Haram members and ISIS members? Now, these are the questions that one should ask. Of course, we know the answer is in public space. The government definitely well treated that and is still treating it with kid's glove. Borno State and Plateau State, mind you, not so long ago we had, that was even this morning in the papers, 64 persons were killed and slaughtered by Boko Haram, and the government is doing nothing about it. Now, let's look at it. Now, we're looking at it, this Borno State and the massacre there vis-a-vis the emergency rule in River State. In Borno State, nothing of such was done, but in River State, something like that was done. So what's the essence of that? Why? What's the essence of that? Why would there be a declaration of state of emergency in River State and not in Borno State? What do you think could be the motive? Of course, it has been said over in public space that it's a grab for resource control. The struggle and the grab for resource control. Now, in Borno State, on a daily basis, we keep hearing Boko Haram insurgency, communities, overtaken by Boko Haram, to mention with a few. I will see a governor coming out to cry in the open. And yet the government has not done the needful. So what they call this is an uneven play we see at work in the policy. Now going forward, we're looking at the criteria for declaring the state of emergency. What is the criteria? What specific factors determine the federal government's decision to declare a state of emergency in the states? Is the threshold based on political instability, economic sabotage, security threats, or a combination of these? Remember the president in his broadcast, he said one of the reasons he cited for the declaration of that emergency was the vandalization of pipelines, that threatens the peace, the wealth of the state. And looking at it here too, you see case of insecurity. Now, insecurity and the wealth of the state, insecurity that affects life and property and the wealth of the state, which should be treated as a sacrosanct duty of government. Is it protection of life and property or security of the wealth of the state? I know definitely what securing the wealth of the state is quite important, but life and property, in my own opinion, as an individual, it should come first. Now, looking at it too, the consistent application when it comes to this state of emergency, why was the state of emergency deemed necessary in River State? Due to a political and economic reason. Why the same similar issue has not been applied in Borno State? Why? Despite ongoing and increasing insecurity, despite ongoing insecurity in the state. Is that not uneven measurement? Is that not uneven measurement? Now, looking at the political motivation, what could be? Could political affiliations and interests influence the federal government decision? Remember that River State happens to be a PDP-owned state, controlled state, while Borno State is an APC-owned state. Could it be because of political affiliation? Of course, that's my state, APC. Borno is APC, Rivers is PDP. Could it be because of political affiliation? What do you think? Also, let's look at the legal and constitutional implication. Legal experts and opposition parties have questioned the constitutionality of the state of emergency in River State. Now, we see the PDP instance, the PDP caucus questioning that, and of course, the APC supporting their own. We're going to conclude by saying this. Now, in all this firework ongoing in River State and in the country at large, from Borno, you see the same instance in Borno, but different approach by the government. We see the same instance in River State, but different approach by the government. What do you think? I would like to have a conversation on what you think about that. Let's have that today. You go to the comment section and put down your comments, and we'll have the interaction. Don't forget, like, follow, and share my content on my page with Kings. Stay informed, stay engaged, keep questioning until there's a change. Thank you.